Okay, so let's just go ahead and walk through what that process looks like. It's pretty simple. Again, we're going to start down here in the waste pickup request area. Okay. At the top, it will recognize who I am. I can't change that, so I can't submit this as somebody outside the core team. I can't come in and submit it on behalf of somebody else or something like that. Fairly straightforward what I need to do. I need to enter some details about the location and then enter details below about the actual waste items that need to be picked up. So I'm going to tap here on building. And in this sample system, I'm always selecting Olin buildings because I know we have all the drawings in the sample system for this. However, obviously, when it's deployed to production, we do have all of your floor plans available there. Okay, so I selected a space where this is, and I'm going to now enter a waste item. You'll see that when I first land on this page, I'm asked to enter a category, and here are the 4 different categories we have. For example, I'll select biomedical, and depending on what you select here, you'll have different options pop up.
In this section, is there an option where we can have where I can do an attachment?
It's not currently set up, but certainly that's not a problem. Basically, any of these forms can have attachments if you need them. So yeah, as I was saying, depending on the category that you've selected at the top, the controls that appear below are going to be different. So for hazardous, we get information about the containers. I think we also have a container for biomedical, and I think the others are a little simpler. So if I've selected hazardous liquid, I'll come down here and select on container. And as we discussed last time, these types and various pick lists that you're seeing here can all be adjusted by anybody who is a member of the core team. We can go over that when you have your list assembled, essentially. So I'm just going to select one of these items here. For some reason, apparently I'm putting a liquid in a box there. And we'll specify our volume. And we also, of course, have this toggle here about whether or not it needs replacement. So again, depending on what you select, you may have to enter a description here, and it is required. So it will not allow us to continue without entering that information. So if we're happy with that, we can hit save. That'll take us back to the main request. And as we discussed last time, you can enter multiple types of waste if need be. And when you're satisfied with all the entries here, we can hit save and actually submit the request. So again, as a submitter, the only other thing I can do is come in and check the statuses of the requests that I have placed in the past. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump into there real quick. Obviously, this being a test system, I've submitted a whole bunch of things, and we can see the various statuses on these items. You can also email to EHS if they want to follow up on something there. Okay. So once the pickup request has been submitted, it'll start showing up in these areas up here at the top for the management of this. So you can see we have 2 big categories. We have things that are awaiting assignment and things that are already in process. If it's a request that's going to actually be assigned to somebody to do, that will end up in the awaiting assignment area. And once it's assigned to somebody, it'll end up in process. So let's just go ahead and jump into here and see what this looks like. So we just get a list here with a couple of summary details. If we're going to have attachments and things like that, there will be icons indicating that there are attachments included. So you'll be able to see that from this list here. So again, these are just the ones that so far have had no attention. Nobody's looked at them, nobody's assigned them, nobody's completed them, etc. So I can tap on one of these things here, and you can see I've got just 3 little options here. I can view the details, which we'll do in just a second. And then in terms of moving it on in the process, there are 2 different ways to do that. Either we can just directly set the status, for example, set it to completed, which we'll do on one of these, or reject it, etc. Or we can assign it to somebody on the team and they can pick it up later. So let's just view the details first. So again, this is what we just looked at, just submitted. So we have our waste item detail down here at the bottom, and various information about when it was requested, its current status, who the actual requester was, and the location. On top of that, we also do have a little list of notifications that have gone out on behalf of this request. The requester has basically been notified, hey, we received your request and it's been logged. So actually I can come in and view, this is the email that basically was sent out for this. Okay, so that's just viewing the details. Again, I can either assign this or I can set the status to something else. I know it was mentioned before, a lot of times you may just want to complete it immediately. And you can just click on that set status. And then in this area at the top, we can click that little button there and select from the various statuses here. So even this may be overkill, but I think we talked about most of these statuses could be used here. So if I just want to say, look, I already did this, we can just immediately mark it as completed. So we don't actually have to assign it to somebody and enter comments another way, etc. So now we're down to just 2. And so if I do want to assign this to somebody, I don't know exactly who's going to be on this list here. I obviously, because it's sample, I entered myself and I just put some of the folks who are going to be on the call. If there's somebody else who is a potential person who might be sent out to do this, we can include them here. So I can just select somebody from the list. And once again, that drops off of our list. And so what'll happen there is that that individual who is going to go and do that work should get an email with the information about how to go and pick that up, etc. Okay. So again, this is just another bucket showing these are ones that have been assigned and are, you can see who is assigned here. And again, these are awaiting completion. Just like the other list, we can touch on this and get some details here. We can view the details just like we did before, set other statuses just like we did before. So if we needed to reject this or something like that, we can still do that at this stage. And then otherwise, we just have a completion button. And so all that requires us to do is put some sort of detail in here about the work being done. And this information will be sent back to the requester, letting them know that the work was done, et cetera. Okay, so once again, that just drops off our list here. Now, if you need to review things that have already been done, you want to look at those things in detail. Any of these 2 lists that we just looked at, either the one that was awaiting our attention or these completions here, you can come in, click this little filter at the top, and here are the different statuses. So if you want to see everything that has been rejected, you can click on that. And so here are those items there. Look at everything that was completed. And this is the one that we just closed out. So you can see that those comments are left here, and those comments are also delivered back to the requester. So there's not a lot of information, obviously, in this sample right now, but we did put together just some summary numbers to look at. This is something that would be an ongoing process, is we would work with you to construct some reports that might be helpful, but right now we just have sort of 3 examples here. So these are really thin summary of pickups by building. Again, because there's not very much data in here, I didn't even set this up to be broken down by date, but obviously this could be broken down by month or week, and then broken down by building, etc. So this is just the overall pickups that have been completed so far. Coming back, very similar, but now broken down by the category. Slightly different, though. This is actually pickup items. So if a particular request had multiple items, this is actually a total of items, so not just the number of requests. So if somebody put in both a biomedical and hazardous, those are counted separately here. And then finally, just overall pickups by week. Again, I know this is all very thin, but we just don't have enough sample data to get very complicated here. So start of the week, number of pickups that were done that week. If we are going into detail and people are assigning this to an individual, obviously that's another thing we would want to be able to show, is broken down by requester, broken down by the person who actually went out and completed it, et cetera. And so all those things are very easily done, and happy to set that up for you. That's it for the process-based area. Now, there was a discussion of PMs, and we do have a table structure waiting for PM information, but it wasn't really configured. And so if you're interested in setting up a scheduled pickups, that's something certainly we can do as well. So it's basically ready to accept data. We just don't have data for it yet. The only other area is the material storage area. We've got a list right now that is showing only buildings in the system that have some sort of material storage in them. So that's why we have a list of buildings here, and there are only 3 buildings here. So if, for example, you want to go out and record information about a building that isn't already listed here, you can come up to the filter and you can see that why it's only showing those 3 buildings is we're only looking at buildings that have material storage. So if we say either no material storage or all, that'll bring up a full list of buildings. So this is basically the complete list of buildings in the system. So let's just go ahead and jump into one of these and we'll record a little bit of material. So we can take a look at the floors. Here's all of our floors recorded for this particular building. Incidentally, there also is a little icon indicating whether or not there is a floor plan available. I think we have a physical sciences floor plan. There we go. So we can bring up a floor. We can touch any of the spaces there. That'll give us some detail about the space, the name of the space, how it's categorized, the division and department that's responsible for that space, and then we have a list of different materials that could be stored there. So if I want to say that there are hazardous materials there, we can do that like that, and we'll say radioactive as well. And what that does is it'll highlight that space for us. If we return to our list, we'll get our different types showing there. We can also dive into one of the existing ones, and let's just take a look at one of these. You'll see that what it also does is it puts little icons on the floor plan just indicating the type of materials that are stored there. There's some variations here where rather than looking at the floor plan, you can look at the complete list of spaces here. Very similar to what we saw at the building level, these things are filtered, but we can come through this way and see these are all of the spaces in the entire building. Any of those things that we saw can be reported on, obviously. We can print out to PDF floor plans, etc. The only other thing also is that the sample system is not sending actual emails. You can come in and look at what emails have been sent, as we saw during that demonstration, but it is not sending real emails just to prevent people from think they're just there testing, and it ends up sending emails to a bunch of people who don't understand it's coming from the sample system. We can come in and see the notifications that have been sent, but it won't send the real email. The production system will send real emails. It is set up to be mobile friendly, and I'm operating this right now. Of course, it looks like an iPad, but you can do this. Here, hold on. This is what it looks like if I come in with my regular browser. But it'll work on a phone, it'll work on a tablet, it'll work on any device you have.